right, guys, welcome to the Kim Iverson Show. Thank you so much for being here. So Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is still standing on the stage at this Trump rally in Glendale, Arizona. We're going to go over some of what he said. In fact, let's go ahead and load. I was able to grab a little bit of this. We're kind of on the fly right now because this is happening in real time. He's standing on the stage and we wanted to see what he had to say or what type of reception he had. And it is absolutely incredible, the reception. In fact, let's go ahead and play. I mean, we're going to go over what Kennedy, he's suspending his campaign. He says he's not, if you caught the show last week when we had Larry Sharp on the show, then you watched us debate whether or not Robert F. Kennedy Jr. should drop out of the race and endorse Trump or stay in the race to get that 5% of the vote, which would pave the way towards a third party. And it turns out he's doing both, which we didn't even think about this as an option, but clearly Bobby did. And it's a really smart move. He's keeping his name on the ballot in the firmly red and blue states where he's not going to be a spoiler. And he's hoping to still grab that 5% so that he could end up creating an independent party. He's also removing his name, however, from the swing states to avoid becoming a spoiler. And he's officially endorsed Donald Trump. Let's actually watch a little bit first before we go to his speech and his explanation. Can we just, this reception that he has received in Arizona at the Trump rally, this goes to show he did not make a mistake today in announcing that he was endorsing Trump and partnering with him in creating sort of a unity party. Watch this. Watch him as he goes. They're playing Foo Fighters, There Goes My Hero. They've got fireworks going for the guy. The crowd is going wild. Trump even says this is the loudest, craziest reception. The crowd has gone crazier for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. than they have for anybody.
And I don't think I've ever introduced anyone that got applause like he just got. I must tell you, I don't think it's true. I don't think I've ever introduced anybody that got applause like that. Amazing. It's true. Amazing.
I mean, look, they're chanting his name. I mean, this is the most incredible reception he could have ever dreamed of. And this is a major Republican convention. This is not, it would be great if this would have been an independent third party type thing, because that would be awesome. We want to break the duopoly. But the fact that the Republican Party, the Republican base have embraced him this way, this is so completely opposite of how the Democrats have treated him. I mean, think about the difference of how Democrats have just shunned him. They've called him a conspiracy theorist. They have smeared him in every single mainstream liberal publication they can. They barely would interview him. They've treated him like a parasite. And he turns around, endorses Donald Trump, and this is the reception he gets. Imagine had he said, you know what, I'm suspending my campaign. I don't want to be a spoiler, and I'm going to go ahead and endorse Kamala. Do you think that the Democrats would have invited him to a rally? No, they just would have said he did that. They would have put out press releases and in interviews, barely would have mentioned his name. They would have said, well, he did the right thing. He dropped out. He didn't have a chance anyway. So they would have continued to treat him like crap. Meanwhile, the Republican Party has embraced him. Trump has embraced him. They gave him fireworks. Trump didn't even walk out to fireworks. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. walked out to fireworks and an embracing crowd. This is absolutely incredible. Okay, I want to get to what his remarks were earlier today. He explained himself. He explained why he's officially endorsing Donald Trump, why he's still where he's doing this dance, where he's still staying in the race. Well, he's not. He's suspending his campaign, but he still will be on the ballot in certain states. And there's still a possibility He even explains there's still a possibility he could end up in the White House as president. There is still a chance, but he's also not going to be a spoiler, and he's endorsing Donald Trump. Watch this.
Our polling consistently showed that by staying on the ballot in the battleground states, I would likely hand the election over to the Democrats, with whom I disagree on the most existential issues: censorship, war, and chronic disease. Oh, I want everyone to know that I am not terminating my campaign. I am simply suspending it and not ending it. My name my name will remain on the ballot in most states. If you live in a blue state, you can vote for me without harming or helping President Trump or Vice President Harris. In red states, the same will apply. I encourage you to vote for me. And if enough of you do vote for me, and neither of the major party candidates win 270 votes, which is quite possible. In fact, today our polling shows them tying at 269 to 269. And I could conceivably still end up in the White House in a contingent election. But in about 10 battleground states where my presence would be a spoiler, I'm going to remove my name. And I've already started that process and urge voters not to vote for me. It's with a sense of victory and not defeat that I'm suspending my campaign activities. I was a ferocious critic of many of the policies during his first administration, and there are still issues and approaches upon which we continue to have very serious differences. We are aligned with each other on other key issues like ending the forever wars, ending the childhood disease epidemics, securing the border, protecting freedom of speech, unraveling the corporate capture of our regulatory agencies, getting the US intelligence agencies out of the business of propagandizing and censoring and surveilling Americans and interfering with our elections. 4 more years of Democratic rule will complete the consolidation of corporate and neocon power, and our children will be the ones who suffer most. I watched generations of children get sicker and sicker. I had 11 siblings and I had 7 kids myself. I was conscious of what was happening in their classrooms and to their friends. And I watched these sick kids, these damaged kids. In that generation, almost all of them are damaged. And nobody in power seemed to care or to even notice. For 19 years, I prayed every morning that God would put me in a position to end this calamity. The chronic disease crisis was one of the primary reasons for my running for president, along with ending censorship in the Ukraine war. It's the reason I've made the heart-wrenching decision to suspend my campaign and to support President Trump. This decision is agonizing for me because of the difficulties it causes my wife and my children and my friends. But I have the certainty that this is what I've meant to do. And that certainty gives me internal peace, even in storms. If I'm given the chance to fix the chronic disease crisis and reform our food production, I promise that within 2 years, we will watch chronic disease burden lift dramatically. We will make Americans healthy again. Within 4 years, America will be a healthy country. We will be stronger, more resilient, more optimistic, and happier. I won't fail in doing this. Ultimately, the future, however it happens, is in God's hands and in the hands of the American voters and those of President Trump. If President Trump is elected and honors his word, the vast burden of chronic disease that now demoralizes and bankrupts the country will disappear. This is a spiritual journey for me. I reached my decision through deep prayer, through hard-nosed logic, and I asked myself, what choices must I make to maximize my chances to save America's children and restore national health? I felt that if I refused this opportunity, I would not be able to look myself in the mirror, knowing that I could have saved lives of countless children and reversed this country's chronic disease epidemic. I'm 70 years old. I may have a decade to be effective. I can't imagine that President Harris would allow me or anyone to solve these dire problems. After 8 years of President Harris, any opportunity for me to fix the problem will be out of my reach forever. President Trump has told me that he wants this to be his legacy. I'm choosing to believe that this time he will follow through.
Well, let's hope so. And it looks like he will, considering the reception that he just gave him on the stage in Glendale. That wasn't just a small, hey, yay, guys, we got an endorsement from Kennedy. It was a massive welcoming to the Trump fold. Bobby looked a little hesitant there, not going to lie. I'm sure this was very conflicting for him, but it was absolutely, I think, from a political perspective, the right move for him, 100%. I don't love, there's a lot of things I like about both of them. I do agree with them on so many policy issues. There's, of course, the big elephant in the room for me, which is Gaza, Israel, and both of them are aligned on that. So it makes sense that they would be together, that they would join together on a ticket, or not on a ticket. That would have been the smart move, in fact. Should have been a Trump Kennedy ticket. So I don't know how Vance is feeling right now, because I'm sure a lot of people are thinking it should be a Trump Kennedy ticket. But nonetheless, throughout the about an hour long that Kennedy spoke, we just played about 5 minutes for you, but he did speak for about an hour. And it was very clear throughout his speech, when he got to the part about children and health and wellness, it's very clear he is angling for head of Health and Human Services, that's what he wants to be, the head of HHS. That means he would be effectively in charge of the FDA, the CDC, the NIH. I mean, all of these departments that he has been really just kind of railing against over these last several years since the pandemic, for sure. And even before then, when he was a healthy vaccine advocate. So that sounds to me like that's the position he's angling for. It's probably Trump also, when he spoke on stage before he had Bobby speak, mentioned children and the health of children. So, and of course, Bobby's organization, Children's Health Defense, and he wrote the book, The Real Anthony Fauci. It makes sense that he would end up the head of Health and Human Services. And when he spoke about it and he spoke about the health of our children, I know that there are a lot of really important issues to us right now. Israel, Palestine, Gaza, that of course being one big, huge issue for most of us who've liked RFK Jr., but that was the thing we just couldn't get over. It was so different from all of his other positions. It's been, here he is, an anti-war guy. Here he is against the establishment, against the surveillance state, the three-letter agencies, and yet when it came to this one thing where we've got a group, these Zionists, who have completely controlled our government, and they brag about it openly, where they say, all of our candidates, the people that we like, get elected. So it's good for America to be pro-Israel. It's good for your career to be pro-Israel is really what they mean. So it's really, when he's talking about all the corruption and the influence in our government and in our political system, it then just throws us all for a loop when he suddenly is rah Israel and holding an Israeli flag while he's marching alongside Rabbi Shmuley. It throws us for a loop and makes us highly suspicious. That being said, when he was talking about the kids and he's talking about the health of our country and how Japan has a 3% obesity rate and we've got a 50% obesity rate, we do have our own, in a way, genocide going on of our youth. They are not expected to outlive us. This is a group of kids. Their life expectancy is now lower than ours. And that is the opposite of what it should be. Their lives should be longer, and yet they're shorter because of the obesity epidemic, because we're injecting them with 70 different vaccines before they're even 18 years old. We're doing all of these really terrible things for health. The pandemic was absolutely devastating for millions of people, billions of people around the world, and that was very much controlled by the departments that Kennedy potentially will be taking over if Trump wins and he ends up the head of Health and Human Services. So there is a good argument to be made that if you care about our country, if you care about our people, and really if you care about people around the world, even, because what America does sets a precedent for all these other countries. Had America advocated to not shut down and didn't push all these vaccines, you know that less of the world would have as well. But instead, the world sort of followed America because they kind of had to. So there is an argument to be made that just even though we all have our reservations about certain topics when it comes to them, Trump and Kennedy, there is an argument to be made that they could potentially look, they could be the same as Kamala Harris on that one issue, and nothing changes no matter who you vote for. But there could be a serious change with him as the head of department. I mean, I would love to see it. I would love to see him as the head of Health and Human Services. I don't think anybody, I mean, he would be great. And I'd really love to see how he changes health in America and how he changes the just everything surrounding our health. I would just really love to see that. Um, but boy, what a conflict many of us face, trying to decide what we're going to do when it comes to that. At the end of the day, I do have to care about this country more than any other country. I have to care about the health and the future of this country. That being said, it's not like caring about what's happening with Israel and Palestine is not caring about this country, considering there's so much Israeli influence and control in this country. We need to gain our sovereignty back. There's no doubt about that either. But we also need to gain our sovereignty back from Big Pharma. And we've got to gain our sovereignty back from the surveillance state and the three-letter agencies. And, we've got a lot of places where our sovereignty it's very porous, and a lot of different organizations, actors, and influences have infiltrated. And it's not just one. It's not just Israel, right? That is one for sure. But there are others. And maybe Bobby and Trump would actually maybe with Bobby there, maybe something would actually get done about the military industrial complex, about the pending war, the looming war with Russia, World War III, about the big pharma influence. I mean, maybe there would be a lot done there. So, I mean, it's a real conflict. It's a real conflict. And that's why I'm glad we have a few more months before November, right? A couple more months. But what a reception. I think he definitely made the right decision. It's interesting that he's going to keep his name on the ballot in these firmly blue and red states. That does give a lot of people an incentive to vote for him, knowing that it's not actually going to, look, I live in California. What would it matter? Right? This state's going Harris. So my vote is a protest vote if I vote for Jill Stein. I hate the Green Party, though, so I don't want the state of California to get any ideas that that's the direction I want them to go in. But, maybe a vote for Kennedy and getting a third party going would be a better path for the future. And that would pave the way for other third parties. And it would pave the way. And one thing to keep in mind is that all of the people that would follow Kennedy into a third party, the vast majority of them do not agree with him when it comes to Israel-Palestine. Most of his supporters don't. That's why it's so strange. So there is a possibility that, he cracks the door open for that third party, which Larry Sharp was talking about. And maybe that would pave the way for a lot of these other truly anti-war candidates who are actually anti-war on all fronts and more consistent in that viewpoint. So that's just something to keep in mind. Same thing with people that are firmly in a red state. It's going to go Trump, like my home state of Idaho. It's going to go Trump. But maybe some people will vote for Kennedy because they'll feel like, hey, I don't really, but maybe this will crack the door open for a third party. It's just things to consider, totally things to consider on this. But I do think that the reception he was given at that rally in Arizona just goes to show he absolutely made the right decision. It's interesting that you can still vote for him and potentially pave the way to that independent third party. And I do think that this is a huge boost for Donald Trump. I think that the Harris campaign still's got a big problem. That problem for them will be Jill Stein. I think that she will take a ton of votes from Harris because of her stance on Israel-Palestine, which is, Jill Stein is measured. She's courageous. She has integrity. All the things the Democrats lack, Jill Stein has. Voters are seeing that. I think she's going to get a huge number of votes. Well, at least I think it seems to me like she should. But there's, of course, always the Democrats are always able to reel all of those voters back in and say, but, if you don't vote for us, it's an existential crisis. Donald Trump is going to win. You have to, you have to, you have to. We'll kind of do something about that whole genocide thing. Maybe, that's, and so who knows this time what will happen with Jill Stein and if she'll take some votes. And of course, she's such a strong, courageous woman. I just love Jill Stein. I just love her. I've talked to her personally a few times. She is a very good person, salt of the earth person, genuine person. And you know what? She doesn't give a damn if they say that she's a spoiler and she's going to take some votes away. But we'll see. We'll see what happens come November. And but this is just huge reception for Bobby Kennedy. I'm all for it. Good for him on that front. He finally deserves the love and the support that the Democrats totally and completely refused to give him. Well, the world is getting more unpredictable by the day. We've got assassination attempts, rumors of civil war, an unstable stock market, and now the looming threat of bird flu and monkeypox is on everyone's mind. Did you know that there's actually a bird flu summit coming in October? Yeah, it's eerily reminiscent of Event 201 that foreshadowed the COVID pandemic. And get this, the first topic on the agenda is mass fatality management planning. So if that doesn't send chills down your spine, I don't know what will. But here's the good news. You don't have to be scared if you're prepared. The wellness company created the medical emergency kit, and every home in America should have at least one of these. They're packed with life-saving meds like the ones we're not supposed to say on YouTube because they were demonized during the pandemic. The kit also includes antibiotics like amoxicillin and even a Z-Pak, and it's all backed by experts like Dr. Peter McCullough. So imagine this, no more frantic searches for a doctor, no more emergency waiting rooms, just a few clicks, and this kit is delivered to your front door. So in times like these, having your medical emergency kit is not just a luxury, it's a necessity. So protect your family by preparing now. Head over to twc.health/Kim. Use code Kim to save $45. Don't wait until it's too late. Act now, take control, and ensure you're protected against whatever comes next. That's twc.health/Kim and use code Kim to save $45 plus get free shipping right now. Hey guys, this was just a clip of a longer show. Catch the full show by going to KimIversonShow.com. It is free. It airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. You could go back now and watch this full interview. I highly recommend it. Again, go to KimIversonShow.com. Thank you so much for watching.